the brain lymph, which controls immune response. It takes out the trash of every cell in your body, and it delivers fatty acids for energy and hormone production. And if that system breaks down, then you're going to pay a hormonal price, a lack of immunity price, a no energy price. A lot of bad things happen.
Welcome to the Bomb Life Podcast, where fitness, mindset, and real talk collide. This isn't just about workouts. It's about transforming your body, mind, and life. Get ready for unfiltered conversations, expert advice, and the motivation you need to level up in every way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Bomb Life Podcast. I am Melissa Vogel, your host. Welcome to the show. Oh, you guys, this episode's going to be another good one. But first, I got to give you a recap a little bit on life. It has been a crazy past couple weeks here for me. I'm actually just recovering from I don't know, some type of massive flu. I don't even know what I had, but it was bad. So if I sound a little raspy today on the mic, know that this is my first show back. This is my first recording back. I think my voice sounds pretty good, but it does feel a little bit raspy. I still have this lingering cough, kind of a lingering headache too. I'm not sure what hit me. I was kind of doing the math and I'm like, I haven't been sick in probably like 5 to 7 years. Can't even remember the last time I had the sniffles. And when I was going back and trying to figure out like, when was the last time that I was even sick? It's been a long time. So for me to get hit with something, it was bad. It took me down. And one of the lessons, I just had to mention this, one of the lessons that I learned from going down and being sick is one, how important rest and recovery is. It really did put me on my butt and make me nap and make me slow down. That's one good thing that we can take away from illness, is that it does force you to stop and recover. Not that I wasn't doing terrible at that before, or that I was doing terrible at that before, but man, does it open your eyes. And then two, how important it is to get back to your training and to move your body, but at a pace that is appropriate. So I totally wanted to wake up the next day and just be like, let's go. I actually did try to go to the gym, and then I thought I was better. And then I'm like, nope, not at all. Get your butt back home, because you don't want to be in this weird place of like, oh, I feel better, but you're not fully better. And then you go and push yourself, and then you have setbacks with your illness, and then your symptoms come back, and then you get a fever again. Really take time to learn your body. Am I recovered? Is it completely gone? Do I have the strength? And do I have the food and power in me to push through this workout? Or do I need to slow down? Do I need to take a day where I'm actually eating more food, more carbs, and then I can get back at it? It really takes some just self-reflection, when you're sick, because you don't want to go back too soon. You don't want to push too hard. But then there's the flip side too, right? I've also seen it where sickness and illness will be the reason why someone hasn't worked out in a year. They get sick, they fall off track, they never get back at it. And then they're like, yeah, that was 6 months ago. And I'm like, what happened? What made you get off the path that you were on? And oh, I got sick. I got really, really sick. And then I just never got back at it. So it's finding that balancing act of okay, you want to get back at it because you don't want too much downtime, whereas you don't get back ever, and then you don't want that big gap too, where that happens. So it's really finding that balance. And it's crazy. It seems like every year, the closer we get to the kids being out of school and the weather gets nice, weird illnesses come up. So I wanted to make sure I brought this up and just have awareness around it, because there is no right or wrong answer. I can't be like, oh yeah, when you get sick, wait 5 days and then start working out again, once all of your symptoms have left. No, everyone is different in what you're eating and how you're fueling your body and hydrating. That's all different for each person too. So pay attention to this. Know okay, I'm going to give myself this many more days. I'm going to pay attention to my sleep. I'm going to pay attention to my carbs. I'm going to pay attention to my protein. And then I'm going to evaluate when I can go back. And then you got to determine how fast you can go back. So my workouts the other day was a little over an hour. Usually when I go to the gym, I can be working out for a straight hour and a half, 2 hours. Today I'm going to go. And again, I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to go a little bit slower. I'm going to be more mindful of how I feel. If I get dizzy, what do I need? I'm going to make sure I hydrate plenty before I go and really start moving my body again, because I can tell it needs it. It needs that movement. It needs to be, I don't know, kind of pushed a little bit, like start getting uncomfortable again with resistance training, straining my muscles, but in a safe way. So it's finding that balance, and you're not going to get good at finding that balance unless you practice, and really think about what's my next step. Do I need more rest? How much time does need to go by? And evaluating. And that's something that people don't talk about in the fitness industry, and people can't give you an answer for that either. So I just wanted to say something about it. I wanted to plant that seed in your head, because sickness and illness is going to happen to everyone. And you do have to find that sweet spot of like, okay, yes, it is time to go. Let's do this. Or like, hey, no, I need to kind of back off and take a little bit more time for me. Now let's dive into this week's episode, because it goes right along with all of this and our health, our well-being, our longevity, all of it. Today's guest is Dr. John Douillard, and he is an Ayurvedic science guy. He's an author, natural health educator. He's absolutely incredible. He's the founder of LifeSpa, and for 40 plus years, he's helped more than 100,000 patients and many athletes as the former director of player development for the NBA's New Jersey Nets. He has built a trusted Ayurveda and natural health education platform with over 1,500 of free articles and videos, reaching well over 500,000 followers and just millions of YouTube videos. He connects time-tested Ayurveda with modern science to share practical ways to improve digestion, energy, sleep, and resilience through seasonal eating, circadian habits, and even how you breathe. And today, you guys are going to leave with simple, actionable shifts that you can try today. We talk about nose and mouth breathing. We talk about sleeping on your left, how important that is, walking after a meal, the lymphatic system, your diaphragm, all of it. This episode is going to really open your eyes to a few things. And I want you guys to open your eyes to this to help create change. Make sure you check out the show notes, check out LifeSpa. Oh my God, we talked about melatonin too, and the link to melatonin to all cancers, like curing them, like helping them. Not that melatonin causes cancer, the exact opposite. It's just an incredible conversation. And Dr. John knows his stuff on this. He's an author of 7 different books, and he's so big on, not just bubble wrapping your diet, but building like resistance and paying attention to what we eat and what we're using to fuel our bodies. So great conversation. So lucky to have him on. Make sure you guys check out the show notes again, give him a like, a follow, go to his website, go to lifespa.com, read more. And this is one of those episodes that you're going to be really glad that you listened to. All right, everyone. As always, make sure you go to the show notes, click the link if you need help with coaching, changing, taking those action steps. Because once you hear information, it can be a little overwhelming. Then you're like, well, what do I do? What's my next step? How do I get help? Am I a fit? Like, what do I do from here? I don't ever want someone ending an episode going, I don't know what to do from here. Go to the show notes, book a call, ask questions, send us an email at itsmelissavogel@gmail.com, and we're here to help you go next level. So for now, make sure you rate and review this episode. Please leave us 5 stars if you feel appropriate. Leave us a review. Every little bit helps. It's like leaving me a huge tip in the tip jar. All right, everyone, enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to the Bomb Life podcast. Today we have Dr. Douillard on. Welcome to the show, Dr. John.
Great to be here. Thank you.
I'm excited to have you. We were chit-chatting a little bit. Dr. John comes from a company called Interview Valet, so shout out to you guys, and they're just like absolutely amazing. And when your sheet came across my desk and I was reading like everything that you have done, everything that you've accomplished, everything that you focus on, I was like, yes, this podcast needs you on the show. So I'm really excited to have a conversation around everything that you specialize in today. So tell me, I've got to know, because we're going to dive into Ayurvedic science today and what that even means. How did you get into this, first of all? I've got to know. I'm always curious of how my guests got onto the path of what they specialize in. So what led your life down gut health and longevity and Ayurveda, like everything?
I mean, I give credit to my mom. She was like the prevention magazine mom and the health food mom, so
Really?
yeah, for sure.
So is
So
mine.
I give all credit to her. And then in probably early 1980s, 81, I think it was, I went to a lecture in LA about yoga and meditation and Ayurveda. And I went up to the guy afterwards and I said, hey, I'm training for an Ironman. What does Ayurveda and yoga and meditation think about an Ironman? And they were like, what is that? And I told them it's a 2.5 mile, swim in the ocean and it's a 112-mile bike, 26-mile run. And he looked at me and he was like, why do you do that? And I was like, no one ever asked me that before. So I didn't really have an answer. And he looked at me and says, do you meditate? And I was like, yeah, I know I learned to meditate. My mom taught my sister and I how to meditate, with transcendental meditation when I was in like junior in high school. And yeah. And he goes, do you sleep when you meditate? I go, deeply. It's great. I get this knockout sleep. It's amazing. Then he looked at me again like I was an idiot and said, meditation is not sleep. Sleep is knocked out. Meditation is being alert and resting at the same time. I was like, oh, that's not, I don't have that. I'm out, And he said, you're exhausted and it's way too much. And I said, well, what if I was able to do all this exercise because I love it and not fall asleep in my meditation? And he was like, yeah, you could do that. And I was like, okay, good, I'm going to do that. So I started going to weekend meditation retreats in LA, like yoga, breathe, meditate, yoga, breathe all day for 2 days, for a weekend. I went for a 2-week version of that. True story. It's actually jet fuel. The chapter of my last book in my breathing book was called Jet Fuel. It's about what happened to me. But I got shot out of a cannon, went into a 3-month runner's high experience where I was competing at a significantly higher level, became very competitive, started winning medals. Not only did I perform at a level where my friends thought I was on steroids, some of them learned to meditate because they knew exactly what was happening. But I also had this level of academic bandwidth. I was in my clinical internship at the time, and I was just blowing it up. There's nothing I couldn't do. And I related it to the eye of a storm, which is the coexistence of opposites. The calm and the winds coexist, which is meditation and, being resting and active, which is supposedly the thing of meditation. And it's kind of like a solar system where planets spin around a sun in the center and atoms do the same thing. This law of nature where the two opposites coexist is what the runner's high is. It's my best race, it's my easiest race. And I flipped into that for 3 months and never forgot it. But after 3 months, it kind of disappeared. I started reading books about the runner's high and the zone, ended up going to India in 1986 to study Ayurvedic medicine and ended up coming back and started teaching medical doctors Ayurvedic medicine. And that's when I had to kind of realize that I need to bring the science to this ancient wisdom. And that's what I do today as I write articles about ancient medical wisdom. And if I can find science to back it up, I mean, you got something that's time tested, thousands of years, it's still here today, and it has science to prove it. Man, that's a really great place for us to start, particularly in the world where nobody knows. Like science can prove whatever it wants all by itself. So having that, time-tested wisdom and science is kind of where I live.
What is Ayurveda? Because I'm sure people are listening going like, I've heard that term before. I might have read a book on it before. Or some people are probably listening going like, I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about. What exactly is it?
Well, it's the sister science of yoga, and it's the medical system of yoga. So it's about Ayur means life and Veda means truth or science. So it's the science of life. So what it really is, it's a deep study of nature, the cycles. And they talked about circadian rhythms thousands of years ago, when you should eat, when you should sleep, when you should exercise, when you should, be academic. Mm-hmm. And those are the biological clocks that should be in sync with nature's circadian rhythms. We're just beginning to understand that today, but that was the 101 Ayurveda. Eat a big meal in the middle of the day, exercise first thing in the morning, go to bed with the sun, up with the sun, all these kind of, aligning of biological clocks and rhythms. They knew about the microbiome. Thousands of years ago, before microscopes, they talked about what they called crimi, which are visible and invisible bacteria. And they said some of them are really bad and some of them are really good. They said, don't be killing anything. Just support the environment, the ecology. And that was the message of the 2004 microbiome project. The first message we got when they first discovered the microbiome, they said, treat the ecology, the environment. Don't go killing things. So we didn't listen, and we keep clobbering bugs with everything we can think of. And they come back stronger, less diverse, and a whole bunch of problems. So they were so profound in their thinking. And so I thought when I started writing articles, I'd write 1 or 2 articles and I would have nothing left. But I've written over 1,500 articles taking these ancient medical practices and tying them to real science that generally is buried in the medical journals that's never reaching medical practice. There's so much about the lymphatic system, which is the longevity system we know nothing about. It's the #1 system they treated thousands of years ago, still doing it today. And it's the system of longevity. Like, who talks about that?
Right.
But the science is there. It's not in medical practice, but there's volumes in the research journals.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's so, I don't want to say hidden, but just like undiscovered? Or I don't know, when I've gone to my doctor before and I brought things up like this and like, hey, well, what do you think of this? Or what do you think about, working on my lymphatic system or drainage? Like, it's just, I almost got laughed out of the room a couple of times. I got very, very dismissed. And I'm like, man, and I know what I'm talking about. And I'm just curious, at this point, I'm just kind of like seeing what they say. And I'm like, what if that was someone else, that like really was like, no, hey, doc, I really need to know what you think of this because I value your opinion, and then got shot down. But why do you think that it's so underlooked and under-discussed?
I kind of think it's because medical doctors don't have time to read the medical journals.
Yeah.
So they get their information from the pharmaceutical reps. So it's become a system of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of a science guy, right? So there's 15 studies in the medical journals that show that if you strengthen your diaphragm, you can reverse your heartburn, GERD, reflux, lower your blood pressure. And the diaphragm is the #1 pump of your lymphatic system. And in one study, 91% of the athletes that were tested did not have a diaphragm relaxing and contracting fully. And as we get older, the rib cage gets tighter and tighter and tighter. We breathe more shallow into the fight or flight receptors. Life becomes an emergency, and we slowly begin to accelerate the aging process. Now, all that's, have you ever gone to the doctor with heartburn, anyone out there, and they tell you, oh, here's some really cool breathing exercises that can reverse your heartburn. There's 15 studies here to back it up. That never happens. And that's why I think it's so important to look at traditional practices and then show the science and go, you know what, this is unfortunate, but it's because the doctors don't have time to read the journals. I mean, melatonin, in another example, there's volumes of research, probably shouldn't say this, on melatonin to prevent and treat pretty much every possible cancer on the planet.
Really?
I've had so many, oh my God, I've had so many patients who go to the medical doctor with cancer, they're oncologists, they never mention melatonin. I print out study after study after study for their specific cancer for my patients to take to the medical doctor, and get, say, is it okay if I can combine this? And they always say yes, but they knew nothing about it. I just can't even, it's so it's just such a weird system we have today because it's become, monetized in a pharmaceutical way, where you get on a medication and you never get off. And that doesn't need to happen. If you have a weak diaphragm, you're also not going to pump the lymph in and out of your brain. Right. And when COVID was first, when long haul COVID was first found out, the study showed it was linked to congestion of the brain's lymph and lymphatic system, which dumps like 3 pounds of plaque and trash out of your head every year while you sleep at night. But if you don't breathe well, like during COVID, you're not going to pump the trash out. It's going to build up in your brain. The brain lymph, which controls immune response. It takes out the trash, every cell in your body, and it delivers fatty acids for energy and hormone production. And if that system breaks down, then you're going to pay a hormonal price, a lack of immunity price, a no energy price. A lot of bad things happen. So by understanding and strengthening the diaphragm and strengthening the lymph, you can actually support a healthier immune response. If the brain lymph is congested, and studies now show that that's linked to anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, inflammation, infection, and autoimmune concerns, where the brain doesn't know how many fire trucks to send to the immune event somewhere in your body, so it sends too many or too little. That's because of a congested lymph And if you track the lymph to its upstream cause, which you always want to ask the next question, what caused that? You're looking flat out at the digestive system. And what do we have in America for eating food? Bubble wrapping your diet. Don't eat wheat, don't eat dairy, don't eat nuts, seeds, grains, legumes, nitrates, oxalates, goitrogens. We're just being told don't eat, don't eat, don't eat.
I know.
Instead of strengthening this digestive system so it can digest and detoxify a massively wider berth of foods that we should be able to do. Our ancestors did it. Why can't we? So this is why it's sort of like a broken system. We just pick, oh, you have heartburn. Here's the pill to put out your stomach acid. That makes no sense. Now you can't digest anything. Your stomach acid is your first line of protection against parasites and bacteria and environmental pollutants. And if you have no stomach acid, it's like an open door that anybody and everybody can just walk right in and wreak havoc in your gut.
Well,
it doesn't make any sense.
I know. Well, they do the same thing with mental health. They're like, I'm feeling depressed and anxious. And they go in there and you get an antidepressant, to, put more chemical in your brain that supposedly like you're lacking. And it doesn't help. It's just masking the problem. They're not looking in environment. They're not looking at gut and everything else that you were saying that, that impacts it too. It's happening the same thing with mental health.
So true. We just look at Western medicine is designed to, diagnose a part and fix a part, and with no recognition that everything's connected.
Right.
And it's so illogical. And patients are finally getting, wind of like, this doesn't make any sense. You're just giving me something for the blood pressure. I got to stay on this for the rest of my life. Where studies show if you strengthen your diaphragm, it can lower your blood pressure as fast as a Western medication in just 3 minutes by actually getting the diaphragm to pump lymph, which means the trash is now getting out. It's like a hose, right? You clamp a hose on the lymphatic side, which is the drainage side, then the blood's going to build up. The hose is going to start to swell. That's your blood, right? So why not evaluate the drainage system, the immune carrying system, the detox system, and the one that delivers all the fats for skin health and hormone health? Thus, fatty acids are required to make hormones. And if your lymph is congested, and let me give you a couple of examples if your lymph is, we have a lymph quiz you can take, but let's say if you have your wings are tight on your fingers, you swell, you hold on to water, your joints begin to ache. Maybe you wake up morning and you're stiffer and achier than you'd like. You're tired, you're lethargic, you have extra weight around your belly and hips, you have brain fog, lack of mental clarity, food intolerances, skin rashes, maybe all over your body or on your hands and your legs, and you're tired and lethargic. If you have any of that, the problem is probably more of a lymphatic drainage issue tied to an upper digestive issue than it is, I need to give you the anti-inflammatory for that pain. That doesn't do anything for the upstream cause.
You've mentioned this about like the diaphragm and strengthening it and working with it. How does that happen? Like, what does that look like? Because I'm sure people are sitting there going like, am I like squeezing my stomach? Like, am I holding my breath? Like, what does this look like for someone to do this work? And you said changes within 3 minutes, 3 seconds?
Yeah.
I can't remember what you said, if it was fast or shorter.
So, in Ayurvedic medicine, pranayama, breathing techniques are like the thing. And studies show the longer and slower you breathe, the more calm and more parasympathetic dominant you become, the more repair and the healing that you become. But when your diaphragm is not fully contracting and fully relaxing, you need what the Western journals say to fix all the heartburn, the GERD, the reflux, the blood pressure. That requires what's called maximum inspiratory breathing techniques. So those are the tools that were used. Okay. So that means I have to take my diaphragm, fully contract it and fully relax it. That's the key. So how do we do that? And I can teach you how to do that real quick. And remember, the rib cage has a job to squeeze all the air out. That's its only job. And if you don't have a functional diaphragm, the rib cage is going to contract and open the rib cage up. The rib cage is going to win the war over time. And as you get older and older and older, you're walking around huffing and puffing with your mouth open. That's only because of rib cage rigidity and lack of diaphragmatic function. So we're going to do a maximum inspiratory breathing technique together right now. So what you do is you're going to take your arms over your head. Okay. Now your arms are going to be like levers to reach, and bring your rib cage up. Okay. Now, as we're going to breathe in, your diaphragm's going to go down. So we're going to separate. Your diaphragm's going to go down, rib cage is going to go up, and we're going to do a maximum breathing. But to to not have you create a fight or flight emergency maximum breath. If you saw a bear in the woods, you do that. We got to do it slowly. Okay. So we're going to do a long, slow, and deep version. So here we go.
You guys are going to do this with me. So we're doing this.
So we're going to breathe through your nose only. And as you start breathing in, feel your belly only. So now breathe in and stick your belly out like a Buddha. Now breathe into your chest. Continue to inhale, go to the upper chest. And then arms come down, let it go out. We'll do it one more time. There's one more step I want to show you. Breathe all the way out, squeeze out your abdomen, tighten your abdomen, get rid of all the air. Now arms go back up. Fill your belly only like a Buddha, slowly. Then your chest, upper chest. Now to take it to maximal, we're going to sip air through the nose as we reach, and then arms come down. The sipping will take you to maximal nice and gently, and then narrow the rib cage, contract your abdomen, get rid of all the air. Do 10 of those. If you wanted to take it 1 to 10 more, you can do it to the side. Stretch the rib cage here, belly, chest, upper chest, sip to max. And when you breathe out, go all the way to the other side, squeeze out all the air, and do 10 on both sides. 10 up, 10 right, 10 left, right in front of your computer. Do it once or twice a day on your computer, and you're going to start taking your diaphragm to maximum inspiratory breathing, and that's going to keep the relationship with your diaphragm and your lymph, your diaphragm and your stomach, your diaphragm and your blood pressure, diaphragm and your cerebrospinal fluid, pump the trash out, all linked to diaphragmatic function, but nobody talks about it.
No one teaches us this, and it's crazy when you had my hands up and that first breath, my abs are pulled in and tight. And then you're like a Buddha, like, let it go. And I'm like, oh, like it took me a second to do it. I wasn't even doing it right. And like letting my core go and like really feeling that expansion. And then I had to learn and listen to you too of like the ribs, the lower, the upper. I need practice, Dr. John.
It's, we're so set in our culture to get ripped tight abs, which, doesn't really give the room for the diaphragm to fully expand.
No.
And of course, when the rib cage gets so tight, there's no room for the diaphragm to relax. When you relax the diaphragm, it's supposed to parachute up under the rib cage. Mm-hmm. But if your rib cage is super rigid, there's no room for that. So you will not fully relax your diaphragm, which means you can't fully contract your diaphragm, which means you can't take a full breath in, which means you just breathe real shallow. Right. And I can talk for 2 hours on why that's bad too, but it causes levels of anxiety and all kinds of hypoxia in your deep tissues where your body becomes more vulnerable to mutagenic stem cells and cancers. I mean, the list of not getting the oxygen in and the waste out with ratio balances between CO2, oxygen, and your nitric oxide, it's not a good look. And it's simple to fix. It's
right.
Not hard.
So you talk about like nose versus mouth breathing. Are we just like walking around doing this wrong? And I don't think people even realize the difference between the two of them.
When I came back from India, I published a study in the International Journal of Neuroscience, and we had a group of athletes breathe through their mouth, and then they came back next day, breathe through their nose, doing the same vigorous workout. And when they came back and they breathed through their nose, their brain waves went into a meditative calm, versus when they're breathing through the mouth, the brain was in a beta state, fight or flight state. They breathe through their nose, same workout, same kids, the brain went into a meditation. Imagine, running as fast as you could, but your brain responding to that as if you're meditating, right? We measured their breath rates. When they're breathing through their nose, they were breathing at 14 breaths per minute at a vigorous level of exercise. It was 200 watts of resistance on an exercise bike. You can do it in the gym and check that out. When they came back and they did it through their mouth, they were breathing at 48 breaths per minute versus 14 breaths per minute. We measured the fight or flight nervous system. When their fight or flight was maxed out, parasympathetic was zeroed out. When they came back and nose breathed, the two nervous systems coexisted, which means you had the thing I've had, that rest and the activity coexisting, the eye of the storm and the winds coexisting. And the bigger your calm that you can create in your body by simply breathing properly and activating a parasympathetic dominance by activating the lower lobes of your lungs, you create a bigger calm, which allows you to support more powerful winds. Billie Jean King, who did the forward to my first book, she said, I would transport myself to the place of total peace and calm. And that's when she would win, when she would lock into that place where it was effortless, And But we just live in the winds of the storm, dodging stress and refrigerators, recovering every day and the weekends, as opposed to hailing from this inner experience of calm, which I stumbled upon when I did that 2-week retreat thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, I felt like I was doing nothing and accomplishing everything, but it was even more like, just do less and accomplish more. Your whole life was just like, it doesn't have to be a struggle. And that what kind of blew me away. And that's when I spent the really rest of my life trying to sort of figure it out. And Ayurveda was like, yeah, that's what we do here. This is the whole point. We create a calm and, deal with the winds of the storm because it's dangerous out there,
Hey, Bomb Life fam, I have a question for you. Are you the kind of person who crushes it at work, shows up for your family, checks off every to-do list, but when it comes to your fitness, your energy, and your confidence, it feels like something's missing? You might be doing the workouts, listening to all the right podcasts. I mean, you are listening to this one. But deep down, you're just kind of going through the motions and you're done playing small in this area of life. That's exactly why I created Fit Mind Coaching, my private one-on-one program for high-achieving women and men who are ready to level up. This isn't just another fitness plan. This is about building the body and the mindset to match the life you're working so damn hard for. Because success in business means nothing if you're hiding in hoodies, avoiding mirrors, or dragging through your day with zero energy, or showing up on Zoom meetings feeling good from the chest up, but praying no one ever sees what's going on below the screen. We're talking about fat loss, muscle building, and real confidence that bleeds into every area of your life, your boardroom, your bedroom, and your parenting. You want it all? Good. You should have it all. Let's go. Click the link in the show notes and book your free call with me today. Let's build the strongest, most confident version of you inside and out. You're ready for more, and I'm ready to show you how. Back to the show. I don't think people realize that either. Like, how fast we are just living our life and not taking a moment to breathe. Like, I guarantee like 90% of the people listening right now, they have just gone through their week, work, showing up, kids, doing stuff, and not taking a moment to actually expand their abs, expand their lungs, pay attention to their breath, calm. Are you breathing through your nose or are you breathing through your mouth? These are just things that people just don't stop and do or ask themselves.
I know we have a culture where we want to get fit, so we beat ourselves up.
Yes.
And break ourselves down with the notion that we know I will recover from this stress and then I will become stronger. But every one of us is limited to how much stress we can endure. Yeah. So what we do in the athletic world is we just, okay, let's cross train. Let's beat yourself up over here. When that breaks down, let's beat yourself up over here. And of course, if you're an Olympic athlete and in your 20s, I can squeeze out a world record. But what happens when they're in their 30s and their 40s and 60s and 70s? What happens? We keep trying to do the same thing, break our body down to build ourselves up. Where the body, if you respect the limits to, your full potential and respect it and slowly build that eye of the storm. And one way to do that is go get on your exercise bike or get on a treadmill. Here's a super, super easy way, and I taught this for years in a health club. Get on a treadmill, put it at 2 miles an hour, 0 elevation. Okay. Breathe through your nose, in and out through your nose. Notice, try to take a nice, long, slow in, long, slow breath out, and notice a natural pause or linking between the inhale and the exhale. Just a natural pause, a natural space between the breath, not a holding, just a natural pause. Now, once you get into that rhythm, after a few minutes of getting nice, long, slow, deep nasal breathing, when you breathe out, contract your abdomen, get all that air out, okay? Now, increase the elevation by 1 degree every 15 seconds. Really simple, 1 degree every 15 seconds. Now, watch your breath and keep asking yourself, do I still have the space between my breath as I go up this hill? And as soon as that breath gets a little bit short, way before you open up your mouth and take a mouth breath, zero out the treadmill back to 0 degrees. You're still at 2 miles an hour, you're at 0 degrees. Now restore the depth and the space between the breath again. And once you get that back, go back up elevation 1 degree every 15 seconds. And now at 4 degrees, which you sort of had the breath get short there, you're going to blow right by that. And I've done this a million times with people on, off the street. And now you go to 8 degrees and the breath gets short at 8 degrees. Zero it out. Go back to 2 miles an hour, 0 elevation, reset the breath and do the same thing. But remember, keep asking yourself, is the space between the breath that I had in the very beginning the same the entire way? Because we are, all of us, conditioned to not recognize the beginning of an emergency response.
Yes.
We're conditioned to go to the blood lactate threshold, which is borderline anaerobic, So we're just trying to pick up that first hint of the body not able to reconvert blood lactate on the muscle site. It sends lactate back to the heart. The breath begins to shorten up a little bit. That's your cue to slow down, respect that beginning of emergency, reset it, go back. And then you go the next time from 8 degrees, go to 12 degrees. Now you just went from 4 degrees to 12 degrees, totally proving to yourself you can do less with more. Back down to 0 degrees, increase the treadmill from 2 miles an hour to 3 miles an hour, and do the whole thing again. And watch yourself build the eye of the storm and show and prove to you that you can do more work with less effort. It's an absolute, I've done it. I did this for free for 10 years in a health club. We had 20, 30 people in every class. And I mean, this works, it's amazing.
That's
but we're so holistic. We want to go beat ourselves up,
Yeah. I mean, who else is teaching this? Who else is like talking, even having conversation around this? It's scary. Can we talk about sleep? Because you recently did a reel about how important it is to sleep on your left side.
Okay.
And I was like, this is really interesting. I've got to bring this up on the interview because we hear so much, especially women, we're told to like only sleep on your back because of wrinkles and like your hair and like, you just lay in this one position and for your neck. I don't think I've ever heard anyone suggest on your left, except maybe when you're pregnant. And I'm trying to think like what side it is you're not supposed to sleep. I think it's your right side you're not supposed to sleep on when you're pregnant because of the main artery. I don't know. But no, I haven't heard anyone talk about the left side and the importance of it and why.
Yeah.
So, and that's my natural side that I sleep on only because of my right shoulder hurts. I can't lay on my right side right now. So I've been doing good with that. But why? What is so powerful about sleeping on the left?
Yeah, I don't know why I wrote that article, God, 15 years ago more or something, and it got over 1 million views. I don't even know why, but here's why that is important. First of all, your brain drains 3 pounds of trash and plaque out of your head every year while you're sleeping. If you sleep on your back, it really doesn't drain very well at all. So that's not a good look. If you sleep on your side, you get about 70 to 80% better drainage if you're on your side, left or right. So it doesn't really matter from that perspective. But when you lie on your left side, all the lymphatic drainage goes into the left side of your heart. It's called the thoracic duct. So when you lie on your left side, you're going to get much more effortless gravity-fed drainage of your trash removal system, which is active at night while you're sleeping. And that's really, I mean, there's some organs have, prefer to be on the left side as well. But the idea is that when you're on your left side, your stomach is actually sort of, your stomach kind of folds to the left. So when you lie on the left side, the stomach is sort of cradled. You lie on the right, it's kind of emptied prematurely. So that can sometimes give people a little burping or heartburn at night. So there's all kinds of like organ benefits having the gravity pull to the left while you're sleeping.
Really?
But the really big one is that the thoracic duct is on the left side of your chest. So when you lie on it, everything drains down to the drain, like the drain in your shower. It's the lower part, and that's what you want. And that is the drainage system, your thoracic duct. Everything goes there.
When you put that out, did you get anyone that was like, this is wrong and like give you hate against it?
Of course. Of course. You get 1 million views, you get everything, what I mean? So yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's very logical and very anatomically sound, and it's just applied anatomy really is all it is, And then the research came out years later about the brain lymph, that lying on your back is basically not a great look for brain lymphatic drainage. And that's a critical piece of the puzzle. And that ties to nose breathing while you sleep at night. When you breathe through your nose, that supports diaphragmatic function, which is the lymphatic pump. Nobody knows that it's the lymphatic pump, but that's what regulates the lymph drainage of your brain and the lymph drainage specifically around your belly. So all that extra weight around your belly, that's lymph congestion.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yep. What do you think of mouth tape to help people facilitate nose breathing?
I like the idea of facilitating nose breathing. So what I recommend to my patients is take some tape. I have one here. I use this one. I get it at the grocery store.
Okay.
It's nothing. It's like cheap. It's a blue Nextcare micropore tape. It's for sensitive skin, so it doesn't have any bad glues on it.
Okay.
You put it like this, the first thing, and then if you wake up in the morning and it's still there, that's really good. If it's on the ceiling, didn't work out very well.
Right.
So you do it that you can still talk and breathe through the side of your mouth. So you're not going to suffocate. Once you can do it this way, you wake up in the morning and it's still there, then you can do it this way. And when you wake up and that's still there, then you can stop taping. You've trained yourself. Just lie on your side, tuck your chin, and you'll have better nose breathing throughout the night. Other people, there are issues with, jaw position and tongue position at night and nasal opening. And that's what nose breathing does. Studies show if you breathe through your nose when you exercise, it facilitates, neural pathways and airway opening over time. If you use it, the body accommodates it. If you don't use it, it just clamps up. And unfortunately, many people just don't have any radar on the difference between nose breathing and mouth breathing. So I use it as a tool to train you to be a nose breather, not to tape for the rest of your life.
Right. And stay shut that way. While we're talking about this and sleep and the importance of sleeping on your left and draining and like what process the brain goes through, I mean, can we just talk about the importance while we're on this topic of shutting your brain down before you go to bed and getting off of the screens and all of the things that we do that interfere with this? Because I've got to believe if we're not shutting our brain down, if we're not calming our body, we're missing all of these detoxing moments, especially if you're going to bed at 2-4 o'clock in the morning. I know a lot of people that do that, but you're missing that. You're missing that dump and that detox that's happening.
Melatonin, which is, we think of the hormone for sleep, but that melatonin that puts you to sleep is only 10% of the melatonin in your body. The other 90% of the melatonin is inside your cell, swabbing up free radical damage from mitochondrial energy production. It's kind of like nuclear energy. The issue is waste. Well, the same thing in our body. And the body chose to make melatonin from the infrared light of the sun to swab up the free radical damage. Now, as we age, we make less melatonin. And all those circadian rhythms and the circadian disruption and the light and the screens, that's just devastating for your melatonin production, which is going to decline with age anyway.
Right.
Which is why sometimes microdosing of melatonin can hack that natural decline and give you all kinds of protection. Like I mentioned, the research on cancer and melatonin is like unbelievably off the charts, by doing a little bit just to give you enough. And what is interesting is melatonin is it actually encourages your natural production. It doesn't suppress your production. Hormone, by definition, means it's going to stop you from making your own. That's why melatonin is not really an official hormone. It encourages natural production. So a microdose might be something to help people, mitigate that and stop the age-related DNA damage that's linked to a host of health concerns as you age. But another thing you can do is you can, sit up before you go to sleep at night, sit up and just close your eyes and do like a little meditation. You can do this breathing, and I said for 10, 30, 40 seconds, and then just close your eyes and be still. And if you close your eyes, your mind is going to automatically kind of go through a review of the day, stress here, stress there. And when you go to sleep at night, that's what the body does. It goes through a daily body review of all the stressors of the day before it allows you to go into deep sleep or REM sleep. But if you do that review in a meditation before you sleep, and then you just slip down into bed and go to sleep, man, you've just cut off a whole bunch of mental agitation and thinking and stressing that keeps you from getting into the longer levels of deep and REM sleep. So that's a really beautiful way to do it. Just shut the phone off and turn it off. I mean, really the best thing is just don't have a phone in your bedroom. Really put it somewhere else. When you're ready to go to bed, turn the lights out, and to make sure you're not chronically disturbing your own production of melatonin. Even a little light under a door has been shown to block melatonin production. Another way to produce melatonin production is get up in the morning and be there. And now that spring is here, you can get outside, go for a walk, take your shoes off, do a little grounding on your lawn, but get that sun in your face, because when that infrared light in the morning will actually produce more melatonin at night.
Oh, okay.
And the other piece of the thing about sleep is that the body, the research shows you need energy to go to sleep. Right before you go to sleep, the body surges ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine is the sedative, and then you have 3 phosphates. So, and that energy, that ATP, gives you that natural sedation to go to sleep. So most people who can't sleep, it's not because they have, too much energy and they're wired for sound. It's because they have too little energy and they need more rejuvenative support to calm themselves down. And that means getting to bed earlier and getting up early and getting up from the sun and get your body in rhythm with its biological clocks and circadian rhythm. So the body feels like it's going downstream, like, the Canadian geese and the birds. They're not stressed out there. Doesn't seem
right.
like.
Right. Melatonin, real quick, it's everywhere. I mean, how do we know what is a good melatonin to take that we could start microdosing, or what a good company is? Because I mean, you can find it in gummies, you can find it in liquid and pill. Like, I mean, it's literally everywhere.
That is a really good question. And the research on melatonin, there's something called the LD50 in medicine. It's called the lethal dose for 50% of the people who take it.
Okay.
Water has an LD50, kills half the people at a certain dose. Ginger tea will do the same.
Right.
The only thing that has never been found to have an LD50 is melatonin. So there's no studies, even though as much people try to scare you, there's no studies showing that melatonin is harmful. But the pharmaceutical people don't like this. But the reason why you can still buy it in the grocery store is because it really has never been shown to harm anyone. Now, you can take more than you need for sure. In fact, because melatonin encourages your natural production, you really, most of the time, need way less than you think. And that's where microdosing, and there's good research on that. So the one issue that the pharmaceutical companies have is that, yes, sometimes what you buy in the grocery store, in the health store, it's not been tested. It isn't what, it isn't really, doesn't have what it says it has in it. And there are issues there. So I think you do have to make sure you're getting it from a reputable company. I source one, we have something called low dose melatonin, where one drop is 0.1 milligram. And what I tell my patients is take one drop for 5 nights, 0.1 milligram. It's a nothing dose. There's more in a tart cherry than that. Mm-hmm. Then after 5 nights, you take 2 drops. And then you go after 5 nights, take 3 drops. And you work your way up to find the individual precise dose just for you.
Okay.
And then once you get there, stay on it. If it starts to not work because it's like not working, don't take more. That's American way. Take less, because you're encouraging your own production now. You have your own, you're getting what you're taking and making. So now you can just go down to the precise dose. And most of my patients over 50 who start to see that decline, they take 1 or 2 or 3 drops before they go to bed. It's an absolute nothing dose, but it's hacking that aging process in powerful ways.
And where can we get this?
We have it at lifespa.com.
You have it at LifeSpa,
website.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, which was my next question. Tell me about LifeSpa.
So I started a website many, many years ago, writing articles about ancient medical wisdom and modern science. Mm-hmm. And we now have 1,500 articles there. All of it's for free. They're really in-depth articles with really good reference articles there for you. So type up your health concern, find out, read about what heartburn or whatever your issue is. And then you're going to get an article about how you can self-help yourself with good time-tested wisdom and the science to back it up. And of course, I've got a newsletter. You can sign up and get all the new stuff. I'm writing about stuff all the time, constantly. And we have an Ayurvedic store there at lifespa.com. You can check out that. That's where you get the melatonin, and all of our Ayurvedic herbs that I've been formulating for 40 years is there as well.
Awesome. What made you start the actual writing process? I mean, that's a lot of free information and articles that you have. I mean, does it just come to you and you're like, I need to get this out. I need to research more. I need to get this out. Like, that's a lot of writing, John.
It is a lot. It's sort of crazy to think, but, I get a news feed on like all the research journals on my phone every morning. So what I do in the morning, instead of reading the paper, I read all the research articles that are coming through. And then I see one that goes, oh my God, that's an Ayurvedic ancient, they've been using this technique or this principle for like a lymph article or whatever. So I get so excited about the research proving this ancient wisdom that I just have to put the two together. And so I just kind of do it now. Yeah.
Okay, one more question, because I know we're getting short on time. You had done another reel talking about steps after a meal and after eating, and how one of the worst things that we can do is absolutely nothing after we eat. This is one thing that I push for my clients to do, is after you eat, go for a 10-minute walk. And the ones that actually listen and do it, every time they're like, oh my God, I just feel so much better. I feel like I digested my food better. I feel like I have more energy, which doesn't make sense. And I'm like, oh no, there's something to it. And then I saw that you had done a reel on it too. Can you explain to us, maybe they'll listen and hear it from you this time, like why walking after a meal is so beneficial to us?
So here again, in Ayurveda, thousands of years ago, they called it Shata Pavali, which means take a walk after your meals. It's a traditional thing. And then you find all the science behind it. When you eat a meal, you think about, cardiovascular plaque in your arteries, and that's really bad, right? Well, guess when the impact of creating plaque and damaging your arteries happens? after your meal.
Right after. Yep.
Right after the meal. That's when you have the damage. So you eat a meal and you go sit down, it just lingers in your arteries and damaging and creating more irritation. But if you actually go for a walk, eat the meal in a relaxed way, take some time, relax. It doesn't have to be right away, 10, 15 minutes after the meal, after resting and relaxing, go for a walk. And even if you just have to sit there and march in front of the TV, but just don't go plop on the couch. Just before you do it, take the clicker and find whatever show you want to watch and just march, just like this, marching for 15 minutes before you actually sit down. And what that will do is it'll make sure that all the food in your stomach leaves your stomach in a timely fashion. It's called gastroparesis. If it does it, when it goes up, it goes to heartburn and digestion, pushes on your diaphragm, makes you not breathe. Like it's a chain reaction. It also, when you're walking, it also helps the sugar in your blood get into your muscles very quickly, even without insulin. It doesn't need insulin to carry the sugar into your muscles. When you're walking, the body, through these GLUT4 receptors, drives the sugar right into your blood. So it mitigates any blood sugar spike, even if you had a little bit of dessert. It's so critical to do that. I mean, the research on this in terms of what it does for your arteries, your blood sugar, your gastroparesis emptying is just unbelievably beneficial. And since cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer, this is one thing we can all do. Just march in front of the TV before you plop down on the couch.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Any other simple, actionable shifts that people can start today to improve their overall health, their sleep, their anxiety, their lymphatic system? I am sure you have a book on everything that we could be doing, because I mean, you've wrote over 7 books now.
Yeah, the thing that got me started, I went for my first Ayurvedic consultation, and I was 27, just out of college and practice. And then they took my blood pressure at this Ayurvedic clinic, and they said, "John, you got high blood pressure." And I said, "No. That's not possible. I exercise, I meditate. I mean, no way." And they said, "I'm sorry, dude, you have high blood pressure." And the doctor walks in, he says, he says, "What do you eat for lunch?" And I said, "Oh, well, interesting. I have a good, nice breakfast, but at lunch, I'm usually running behind. And my boss had these chocolate truffles. I would just pop a few of those and then go work the afternoon. And every afternoon, I felt like I was hit by a bus or a truck. I was so exhausted at the end of my day." And he looked at me and he said, "Go home, have a nice big warm meal in the middle of the day. You're never going to have high blood pressure again." I said, come on. That's crazy, and give me a pill. I fix it, And I did it. I lowered my blood pressure. I did a pilot study with my patients in my practices back in 1985. And I saw amazing results in blood pressure. Again, we're back to circadian rhythms. Eat the food when the body can digest it. You have a full tank of gas in the afternoon. The brain actually becomes active in the afternoon. And if you don't put any gas in the tank, you're going to crash and burn. That's why a lot of people, feel so tired in the afternoons, because they didn't fuel their system. And if you eat a big meal and feel tired, not because, it's not an issue with the food. It's the issue with digesting the food and delivering that energy, which is why, we have a digestive health quiz at LifeSpa Free. And it tells you what part of your digestion might be broken. And take the lymph quiz and find out if your lymph is broken. Then you fix the individual part of your digestion. Maybe it's poor stomach acid or poor bile flow or poor pancreatic enzyme. And treat it and fix it. So when you eat a nice big meal in the middle of the day in a relaxed way, you get energy from that. You don't, fall asleep. That's why people don't eat a big meal, because they feel like, I'm so tired if I eat a big meal. Right? But that's a broken digestive system. Not the meal has been used for thousands of years. Go to Europe, the world closes for between 2 o'clock, 12 to 2, right? You can't even there's nothing to do except eat. And that's their tradition. And we've decided to change all that. It's crazy.
So midday, big meal. Got it. Well, I think by the time I eat my largest meal, my big plate of my eggs and my sourdough, my grass-fed butter, that is my middle of the day. I call it my second lunch, but it really is. Interesting. I'm doing it right. I didn't even know it. Anything else that you can think of a simple action step that we could leave with today? And I hate calling it hacks, but just a simple action step that people can take away from this.
Go for a walk and count your steps. Breathe through your nose and count how many steps you take on the inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4 on your inhale, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on your exhale.
Okay.
Simple. Count them. Now your goal is to take 10 steps for your inhalation through your nose and 15 to 20 steps for your exhalation. So when you extend the exhale, that activates the it's called an abdominal diaphragmatic cardiac massage, flips the brain into an alpha state. You go into parasympathetic dominance and the body heals, gets rid of pain, calms your nervous system down. It puts your body in a state of healing. Also, the lengthening of the exhale allows carbon dioxide levels to rise.
Okay.
So think about it. People have a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
What do? They put a paper bag over their mouth, they rebreathe their carbon dioxide, and their panic attack goes away. So by lengthening your exhale, you're giving the body more time for CO2 levels to rise, and it instantly calms your nervous system down. And that CO2 is what triggers the release of the oxygen from your blood into your deep tissues. So a simple walk with a longer and extended exhale can super hyperoxygenate your tissues and turn your fight or flight nervous system into a calm eye of the storm. Simple.
We can do that after we eat.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. When you're marching, just breathe in through your nose, long, slow, and deep. It's just,
Wow.
I mean, it's easy to do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh my God, Dr. John, this was like incredible. I am so glad that we connected. We'll put everything in the show notes for people to find you and follow you. But can you tell us like what's your website, what's your social media? And we love hearing from you.
Yeah, my website is lifespa.com, lifesba.com. And of course, you can go there. And like I said, we have a newsletter there. You can sign up for all the free articles.
Okay.
There's free seasonal eating guides, grocery lists for free. There's a link there that says new here, start here. And you get all the really cool introductory quizzes and stuff all for free right there. And then, of course, we're on all the social media channels, Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, all that as well.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. I can't thank you enough for coming on. This was just absolutely incredible information and so helpful, especially this time of year when people are getting ready to shift. It's getting a little bit warmer out. We can get our steps in. We can pay attention to our breathing more. We can get up and move with the circadian rhythms and the sun and using all of it. So this was a really good conversation, a perfect time of year. I can't thank you enough for coming on, John.
It's really my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Yes. Everyone, check out the show notes, give him a like, give him a follow, check out his books, and get all of the free resources that are there and available for you. All right, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy. Until next time.
The Bomb Life podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The content shared here is not intended as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any health, fitness, financial, or legal decisions. The opinions shared on this podcast are personal experiences and insight. So if you need expert guidance, go find the right professional for you. Thanks for listening.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.